Hello, welcome to my podcast, Knowledge is Power. I want y'all to hear something, and I just want to see if y'all remember this. Remember this from 2 weeks ago?
Social Security won't be touched, other than this fraud or something we're going to find. It's going to be strengthened, but won't be touched. Medicare, Medicaid, none of that stuff is going to be touched.
That was 2 weeks ago when Fox News interviewed Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And Donald Trump clearly says Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare will not be touched. Once again, he lied. But what do you expect from a person who lies on a daily basis numerous times? So last night, under the direction of Donald Trump, Congress passed a resolution that they would cut Medicaid by $880 billion. That's billion with a B. $880 billion. Now, remember he brought in Elon Musk and they organized this Department of Governmental Efficiency called DOGE to start cutting unnecessary waste. The key word is unnecessary. They're supposed to trim the fat off all the money that the government is spending unnecessarily. They're doing away with stuff that's necessary. $880 billion. So the way Medicaid works is the federal government sends Medicaid money to the states. And the states practically match what the federal government gives them. So it's split 50-50 between the states, roughly 50-50 between the states match the federal government money on Medicaid. So when they cut this money that they're giving the states, that means the states have to come up with the money for Medicaid. And guess what? A lot of states can't afford it, especially those red Republican southern states that are very poor. Mind you, a lot of those people voted for that same man who said he wasn't going to cut Medicaid. So when those states say, if we can't get money from the federal government to help us on this Medicaid, there's no way we can cover Medicaid. So their Medicaid budget is going to be cut drastically, if it even exists. So this is what those House Republicans did. And the vote on that, all Democrats, 215 of them, voted no. Out of the 218 Republicans, 217 of them voted yes. One Republican voted no, and that was the Republican congressman from Kentucky, Massey. So the vote was 217 to 215. I'm sorry, it was 214 Democrats and one Republican. So the vote was 217 yes to 215 no. If one more Republican would have just said no, the vote would have been tied at 216 and the resolution would have stalled because it wouldn't have passed. But 217 out of 218 Republicans voted yes to cut Medicaid by $880 billion. Unbelievable. Now, remember, they tried to tell y'all before the election, This was all a part of Project 2025, and I'm going to do a video on that because I know some of y'all still say, "Oh no, it wasn't true." I'm gonna do a video on that. All these people that Trump put in place wrote chapters in that Project 2025. The guy that he put over the Office of Management and Budget, he was one of the lead authors of Project 2025. And if you read Project 2025, what the news reports were saying before the election, what they plan on doing, they following right along with that diagram. And remember when Trump said he didn't know anything about Project 2025? Why are you putting all these people in there that was part of the whole master plan, but you didn't know anything about it? Another lie. Remember that word lie. I'm going to get to that later. So they're also trying to cut the CHIP funding, which is Children's Health and Insurance Program, which benefits children in need, their medical expenses, basically children that are below the poverty level, which is what Medicaid is for. Medicaid is for people that's below the poverty level. So basically poor people. And there's a lot of poor people in those Republican states that voted for Donald Trump. And if y'all been watching some of those town halls in those Republican towns where they're on their Republican congressmen about what Trump and Musk are doing and how they saying they voted for him, this is not what they voted for. So one of the reasons they doing this cut to Medicaid, $880 billion, just like they said in Project 2025. So let me explain just this one part about Project 2025. Remember in 2017 where they passed the tax cuts for the rich. The tax cut expires in 2025. So when they came out with the Project 2025, it started with the tax cut. That's what it started with. And then they went into other stuff that they were wanting to cut. But the main thing about cutting spending was to cut money over here so we can put it over here. Cut the money from the poor so we can take that money and put it over here and give to the rich in those tax cuts. Because there was no money to give the rich for the tax cuts. So they had to go find it somewhere. Oh, we're going to look over here, the money for the poor. That's where we're going to get it from. That's where all this cutting is coming from. And who's leading the cutting? Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. The richest man in the world is cutting money from the poorest people in the United States to give to the richest people in the United States, which will also benefit himself. Sounds like he's pulling the old three-finger drag. Let me drag this money from here and put it over here. And like I said, it hurts more Republicans in those red states, those southern red states, the poorest states in the country, than it's going to hurt those blue Democratic states. But they tried to warn you. So Elon Musk is leading this charge. And remember, Elon Musk spent about $250 million of his own money to get Trump elected president. Now you would think, why would he spend that much money to get this man elected president? He's an immigrant from South Africa. Why are you fooling with an American election. $250 million of his own money. And I told people over and over again before the election, I said, the only reason he is spending that much money is he's going to get something out of it. And what did he get out of it? Once Donald Trump was elected, Elon Musk's net worth increased by 77%. I'm going to say that again. This is even before he was sworn in on January 20th. This is between Election Day and January 20th. He hadn't even been sworn in yet. They haven't even cut anything yet. His net worth increased by 77% after Donald Trump was elected president. And it wasn't just him. Remember at Trump's inauguration? All those billionaires that were sitting there with smiles on their face, they knew what was coming. They knew what was coming. They knew they were getting ready to get rich. But we tried to tell y'all. And y'all voted for him anyway. Another one of the things that Trump has done, not Trump, but Elon Musk. So he put Elon Musk in charge of cutting all this spending. Have y'all ever heard of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB? The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is set up, it's designed to protect the consumers from fraud from these big businesses like the banks, these other financial institutions. For example, like overdraft fees, non-sufficient fund fees. Remember the Consumer Financial Bureau, they fought all those people, like with payday loans, people that own payday loans, they charge you all these high rates. The Consumer Financial Bureau comes in and say, you can't do that to these consumers. We're going to sue you. And not only are we going to make sure you get fined, but we're going to make sure those people get their money back. Remember they changed the bank fees? They was charging all this money for overdraft fees and NSF fees. They had the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau sue them, and they had to drastically lower those fees because the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau said it was unfair to the consumer what y'all was doing. So since they became a government program, a government entity, they saved the consumer, us American consumers, over $21 billion with the B dollars. That's money they got back from all these billionaires that own all these companies. They're like a watchdog group, and they watch that stuff. And without us knowing it, they're suing these people left and right. And we don't know a lot of times what they're doing until after it's done. That's what they were put in place for, to watch these millionaire and billionaire crooks that's ripping off everyday people. So Elon Musk basically told Trump, we need to do away with that whole program. So guess what? They did away with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. But why? Why go after them? Elon Musk is getting ready to start a company called X Money. It's a digital wallet and payment system. It's like Cash App, Zelle, Venmo on steroids. He's going to start his own payment system. And If he get rid of Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, he's going to charge anything he wants. He has no oversight. See, there are oversight to all these financial institutions, all these companies that charge fees. Like I said, they're like the watchdog of these groups. Elon Musk just said, no, I'm getting rid of y'all. His company is supposed to launch by the end of this year, by the end of 2025. So not only will you have Cash App, Zelle, and Venmo, you're going to have X money. That's why he's getting rid of it. There's always a reason behind what they're doing. They're also getting rid of the United States Agency for International Development, which it's called USAID. And basically, they give like foreign help to countries in need. And that was established, that's been in place since 1961 when John F. Kennedy started that. 1961, that's been in place for 64 years. Out of all these presidents, and this man comes in and says, we're doing away with that. But a federal judge just stopped it and told them, y'all need to reverse that and get that money going back to those foreign countries. So we got to pay attention to what Elon Musk is doing, because everything is about the money. Follow the money. Remember the tax break in 2017 that they passed when, what's his name, was Speaker of the House? Ryan, I think of his name. He ran for president. He ran for vice president. I'll think of his name. But he was Speaker of the House. And they passed that tax break for the millionaires and the billionaires. He was Speaker of the House. Man, why can't I think of his name? But anyway, he was Speaker of the House. And remember when they was at the White House with Trump and they was all clapping and smiles after they passed this tax break that benefit the richest people in the world? And they were all standing up there smiling, all these Republicans clapping. Right after that, he resigned from Congress. Why do you think that was? You were the Speaker of the House and y'all just passed that big tax break. And then you resigned from Congress. Because I've been saying for years, most of these elected officials in Congress, these congressmen, these senators, and I don't know why I can't think of this man's name. Anyway, they get those jobs not because of the salary, but because of the benefits. How much money do you think Paul Ryan, that's his name, how much money do you think Paul Ryan was set up with after those tax breaks passed? To just quit his job. How much money do you think these 217 members of Congress, these Republicans, that's going to get from Elon Musk and these other billionaires for saying to the poorest Americans that they represent, forget y'all, I'm looking out for these billionaires and I'm cutting Medicaid? How much money do you think they're going to be set up with? Elon Musk, and I said it before, I say it again, before Trump leaves office, Elon Musk, he's worth over $400 billion now. The man is going to be a trillionaire, the first ever trillionaire, and he's already the first person to ever reach the $400 billion mark. He will be a trillionaire before Trump leaves office. I said that before, during, and I'm saying it after the election. When he teamed up with Trump, he had one thing in mind. That was money. I don't care how many rich people, poor people have to step on to get my money, but I'm going to get more. You're the richest man in the world. How much more do you need? Evidently, it's not enough. But he said, I'm going to get it on the backs of poor people. And I don't care. Remember, he called poor people parasites. People living off the government, he called them parasites. So y'all believed in Donald Trump. Y'all trusted Donald Trump. Y'all hinged on every word Donald Trump said. I'm not going to cut Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. And remember, all he talked about was gas and groceries. I'm going to lower them on day one. It's been 36 days, 37 days. He ain't did it yet. You don't even hear him talk about it no more. You know what he talk about? Money. Y'all better wise up. And now a lot of y'all crying that voted for this man. It wasn't about Republican and Democrat. I want to make this straight. To me, it wasn't about Republican and Democrat who I voted for. It was about the person. I knew what Donald Trump was about. He showed his hand the first 4 years. It was about voting for Kamala Harris and against Donald Trump. Then voting for Kamala Harris because she was a Democrat. And voting against Trump because he was a Republican. It wasn't about that. It was about her plan versus his plan. And we all knew what his plan was about. But he lied to y'all and said it wasn't. And he's following through that whole Project 2025. Like I said, I'm going to do a video on that. And I'm going to show y'all the whole Project 2025 plan. I'm not the whole plan. I will break it down. How it was played out in the book and how Trump is following along with the program. That's strange for a man to say he don't know anything about Project 2025. He's never heard of it. So I'm going to leave y'all with this. Oh, one more thing. So to justify all the cuts that he's doing, Elon Musk, he's following in the footsteps of Donald Trump. Lying. So at first, when they told him to show how much money he saved, he came up with $655 million. And he said there was 3 instances where they found $655 million of fraud. $655 million 3 times of fraud. When they were fact-checked on it, we made a mistake. It was only 18 million. So you go from 655 million 3 times, which is over $1 billion, to, we made a mistake. It was only 18 million. That's a big mistake. Then they said there was $8 billion in immigration and customs that they found was fraud. But when they showed the caption and then they showed the receipt, the caption said 8 billion, but they actually had the actual paper up that listed how much they found, and it clearly said on there 8 million instead of 8 billion. So when they were called on that, we made a mistake. It wasn't 8 billion, it was 8 million. Then they said there was $232 million in Social Security that they found was being wasted. Remember they said all these dead people were being paid benefits? That was a lie. It was a coding system that those new techs that he had working for him wasn't familiar with, and they coded all these people's date going back to 1875. There was a code that they put a certain date in there. It was November 8th, 1875 or something like that. they would code those people's names but with that date. So when they saw those dates, that was an old coding system that they used. So when these new techs saw that date, they said, oh, look at all those dead people born November 8th, 1875. That's fraud. We're going to add all that up. And we caught them. No, it wasn't. That's not what it was. So when they were called on that, they went from 232 million to 560,000. 232 million that they claimed, that they lied about, then had to be truthful and say, oh, it was only 560,000. Just lies. They're trying to justify to giving these rich people this $4.5 trillion with a T tax break. Now, these people are already billionaires. They're trying to give them more money. And where do they get that money from? From the poor people that need those programs. Unbelievable. So, remember this. There's a book. It's called How Do You Kill 11 Million People? And I saw that title and I was like, man, I got to get that book. So I bought the book and read it. It's a real short book. Matter of fact, let me see. The book is right here. I tore the thing off of it. But here's the title. I don't know if you can see that. How to Kill 11 Million People. And I didn't know what the book was about. So I'm like, let me read this book. So I read it, and it's all about those Nazis killing the Jews. So how did they kill the Jews? They told them they were going to set them up in these neighborhoods, these beautiful neighborhoods, and y'all come over here and we're going to treat y'all real good, and it's going to be plenty to eat, and the living accommodations are going to be good. You can bring your whole families. And they loaded them on these rail cars, and they were shipping them by the thousands. And when the people got there, they were like, what's all that wire for? Oh, it's just to keep those people out that we don't want in here. But y'all come on in and it's going to be real nice. What those Jews didn't know, those were concentration camps. So while they was bringing them in, they didn't force them in. These people went on their own because they thought they would get ready to live a life of luxury and convenience. But once they got in and started getting in those camps, and they were camps all around, thousands of them, and they were putting them in these camps and they were locking them in. Even though they saw that barbed wire, they lied to them about that. Oh, it's just to keep those soldiers out. So won't nobody come in here and hurt you. They didn't think nothing of it. They thinking they're going to be safe. But it wasn't to keep people out. It was to keep them in. So once they got them in those communities, they locked them in, and it was thousands of these. They were concentration camps. That's how they got those Jews to get in those concentration camps. They didn't force them. They let them in. They coerced them to come in, and they locked them in so they couldn't leave. So how did they kill those 11 million people? They lied to them. Same thing Donald Trump did to his supporters. A lot of people are going to die without that Medicaid, that Medicare. You're talking prescription drugs, health care. You're talking about people in nursing homes. You're talking about a lot of poor people that can't afford just basic medicine. A lot of people are going to die with those Medicaid cuts. But they voted him in because they believed him, just like those Jews believed those Nazis. And Donald Trump lied to them, his supporters. Like I said, sad truth is, a lot of them are going to die without that Medicaid. And they're going to die the same way them Jews died. They didn't force those Jews in those concentration camps. They invited them in and brought them in based on a lie. Donald Trump walked in that White House. They didn't force those people to vote for him. Those people voted for him based on a lie. So how do you kill 11 million people? You lied to them. Same way Donald Trump lied at the beginning of this podcast when he said he wasn't going to cut Medicaid or Medicare. That's it. That's my podcast for today. I encourage y'all to keep following this news because it's getting crazier and crazier. So keep watching this podcast, please, and subscribe to this channel. I'll keep trying to talk more about what's going on. And since today's February 26th, I'm not going to do any more Black History stuff until the month of February is over because I don't want it to be a cliche Black History Month thing. I want to talk about Black history during the non-Black History Month. So I'm not going to talk about any more Black history until February is over with. I want to talk about Black history from March through January. So I'm going to start back up again in March because I don't want to be cliche with the Black History Month. I'll let y'all do that. Those of you that want to talk about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and stuff that we already know, I want to bring in some stuff that's very little known about Black history. So I'm going to start that back up in March. So y'all, like I said, please can subscribe this podcast, and I'm also going to download this on YouTube. But I want y'all to go on Facebook, on my Facebook page. But I want y'all to go on there and subscribe this video on YouTube. All right? See you on the next video.